It has been almost 10 whole years since the initial release date of Pikmin 3, the last mainline release in the Pikmin series. Pikmin as a franchise is incredibly special to me. I've played each entry a number of times, and after each playthrough, I continue to appreciate them for, in their own unique ways, continually developing the concept that is Pikmin, a genre-defying, visually breathtaking experience that features no shortage of innovative design, control schemes, and unbridled charm. You name it, Pikmin probably has it. That's why on September 13th, 2022, the day a properly new entry in the Pikmin series was officially revealed, I was able to let out a scream followed by a massive sigh of relief. The wait for Pikmin 4 was finally almost over, but I still had questions. Shigeru Miyamoto made an effort to point out Pikmin 4's new shift in camera perspective and to a simpler control scheme tailored for the Switch to allow players to further concentrate on the core essence of Pikmin gameplay. This seemed to be a pretty big shakeup for Pikmin, and I began to wonder how such changes could be implemented to please longtime fans as well as attract new players to the IP. Well, as of February's Nintendo Direct, it appears as though we now have some answers. This new trailer has been living in my head rent-free since its reveal. And after combing through its contents relentlessly, I decided that I needed to talk about it. Because irrespective of its individual elements, its breathtaking environments and new, strange mechanical additions, I think this trailer as a whole paints an even more interesting picture of what type of sequel Pikmin 4 is. All this is to say, I think a more fitting title for Pikmin 4 to demonstrate what I mean is Pikmin 2 2. And here's why. That is incredibly exciting. Pikmin 2 was a weird sequel, highly experimental and full of whimsy. Where the isolating tone of the original game coincided well with its premise following an alien castaway fighting to survive on a foreign planet, Pikmin 2 was kind of the opposite. Instead, Olimar's mission in his return to PNF 404 was to gather treasure to secure funds to fight off an encroaching bankruptcy on his home planet. It was decidedly more wacky than the original game, and this translated to more elements than just its story and structure. Olimar's own monologues that became the cornerstone of the original game's storytelling and character development were replaced by an increasingly annoying ship AI and patronizing emails from his boss. And while the previous game's revolving gameplay loop of exploration followed by growing your Pikmin swarm and strategically retrieving objects scattered across the environment remained fairly intact, the bulk of playtime was shifted underground where Pikmin could not reproduce in these claustrophobic subterranean dungeons home to some unspeakable horrors. All of these elements appear to be present in this new trailer. Treasure and fruit are admittedly both present, but the spotlight is strategically placed on the collection of treasure. The subterranean dungeons are a big focus as well, complete with returning Pikmin 2 bosses as well as new ones. And the ship on display feels incredibly reminiscent of the Hakatate freight ship, research pod and all. As a brief aside, I saw a funny comment praising the player character for being the first Pikmin captain to successfully land their ship. But I wouldn't be so sure about that, as the main vessel has clearly endured a rough landing. Look, there's even skid marks indicating such beneath it. Reading between the lines a bit, these elements help indicate to me that Pikmin 4 will be a direct sequel to Pikmin 3, just as Pikmin 2 was to the original. But none illustrates that more directly than the appearance of the player character herself. Judging by her characteristics, I think this new captain is the child of Alph and Brittany from Pikmin 3, and I'm willing to bet this new game takes place sometime directly after the events of Pikmin 3 when Kopai's food shortage has been successfully quelled. There may even be other voyagers in search of PNF's treasures, as one of the big new mechanics appears to be searching for new castaways. Unless this one is the fourth unnamed captain present alongside Shepard, Colin, and the player character, which it does not appear to be, then I think we'll come across many more of these castaways, potentially residents of Kopai or even Hakatate in search of more treasure in their ongoing colonization of PNF 404. Hell, seeing that the main ship design is far more similar to the Hakutation design than that of the Kopites, it's possible that this could be the result of a trade deal between the two planets established by the Kopai crew's contact with Olimar and Louis during the events of Pikmin 3. I don't know, there's so many different angles they could take with the story, and that's even if they continue to stick with the current continuity. Regardless, this premise excites me because there was one element relatively unique to Pikmin 2 among the 3 previous games that is front and center in this trailer, leading me to believe that it will be heavily expanded upon. While remnants of human civilization are present in every Pikmin game, each of the 3 previous entries are much more focused on traversing a natural environment. That is, until some of Pikmin 2's later dungeons that are styled to feel more expressly man-made. They're few in numbers, but they are absolutely the most memorable sections of the game, and I think Pikmin 4 is going to see this concept to its logical conclusion. What's strange is that this opening level features more man-made structures than nearly any other area in the series. Past games had a few similar feeling levels, but these were most often restricted to side modes and DLC, far from being the focal point of the design. In this trailer, there are some beautiful, sweeping vistas to take in, and some massive structures to interact with. Suddenly, the shift in perspective makes a ton of sense because the traditionally isometric camera wouldn't quite work with such hulking structures blocking the player's view. You can also get a feel for how this new camera affects every aspect of the design. The once towering, destructible walls have been shrunken down to allow players to still get an idea of what lies beyond them from the tighter perspective. The level design encompasses more elevated terrain than ever before, with the unprecedented addition of climbing, presumably to generate a greater sense of awe during the exploration phase. I also wouldn't be surprised if mapping out levels is far less important here than past games, because the addition of Ice Pikmin gives me the impression that traversal options will be a little more flexible. Although, the addition of Ice Pikmin alone would not give me a strong enough hunch to believe that were the case, if not for the elephant in the room. Oatchi. I'm personally not 100% sure what to make of Oatchi just yet. He seems incredibly versatile. Maybe even too versatile, able to destroy objects and retrieve spoils like the Pikmin, as well as jump and swim across large bodies of water with an entire swarm of Pikmin on his back. My initial worry was that Oatchi's versatility would greatly trivialize navigation over hazardous terrain, but I have reason to believe this will not always be the case. That's because this tiny snippet of the trailer suggests that Oatchi is controllable on his own, independent of the captain's actions. This makes me believe that the design of the entire game is centered around the relationship between these two characters, instead of having a multitude of captains that can each be set off to perform their own identical actions like the previous game. Pikmin 4 asks the question, what if we added a playable character that could do almost anything except command Pikmin? I don't think we'll be taking control of any of the other captains present in this trailer, but we will control Oatchi, often on his own and in the case of traversal and more complex puzzle solving. This also fits Pikmin 4's notion of being simpler to control, with a slight rebalance of strategy and pure action. These subterranean dungeons could feel quite claustrophobic in Pikmin 2. The need for adjustable camera controls here dictates the necessity for a simpler way to gather and guide the Pikmin swarm through tighter and more hazardous terrain. Oatchi's addition may end up proving to be controversial for Pikmin purists, but I can't help but feel that he is the solution to the innate camera problems that come with a shift in perspective. But what I am most excited about is what all of this could mean for the rest of the game. I think this family backyard is just the beginning, and that Pikmin 4 is going to bring us inside this house. The camera shift elicits a much grander sense of scale thanks to the abundance of man-made structures. I'm imagining a chibi robo-like environment with much more vertical level design, a first for Pikmin due to the brand new addition of climbing as well as Oatchi's ability to jump. Imagine climbing up a stack of books or encountering a boss fight atop a kitchen table. The possibilities are endlessly creative, and honestly feels like a significant departure from the essence of its direct predecessor, a game whose stylings felt more in tune with the original game than its more whimsical sequel. At the end of all of this, my overall impression is that Pikmin 4 looks weird. Extremely weird, but in the best way. Pikmin 2 is honestly my least favorite of the first 3 games. I didn't resonate with the shift to the just brutal dungeons and the carefree above-ground exploration quite like I did with the original game's survivalist tension brought forth by the daily countdowns and 30-day time limit. But just like the countless other experimental sequels on its system, I respect Pikmin 2 for continuing to explore what kind of genre-defying action strategy game Pikmin could be. Pikmin 3 was more my kind of Pikmin game, appealing to my desires to strategically multitask while innovating not necessarily through its content, but its controls. The Switch doesn't quite have the right hardware to continue refining that classic Pikmin control scheme. As far as I'm concerned, that formula was already perfected with the Wii Remote and Gamepad on Wii U. But that's exactly why I'm so excited for Pikmin 4. It's not so often that a Nintendo-developed game with a wacky and niche premise gets another shot to further refine its unique characteristics. But those are the exact types of games that continue to occupy my mind long after I've completed them. I could be wrong, but there's just too many details here that are directly referential to Pikmin 2's design choices to believe that this game will be anything besides just that and so much more. And frankly, after already receiving the Pikmin sequel that felt expressly made for me, I'm ready for Pikmin to get wacky and whimsical again. I'm hoping that this game's refinements to Pikmin 2's skeleton can leave me with a sense of awe while showing brand new players how special Pikmin can be. I didn't think there could be another game that could top my anticipation for Tears of the Kingdom this year, but as it turns out, Pikmin 4 comes incredibly close. Thank you so much for watching. I want to give a quick thank you to my patrons for making videos like these possible, and a special thank you to my producers Julian Messmer and Questing Refuge. If you want to see more coverage of Pikmin 4 and other Nintendo games, make sure to subscribe. I may have a full Pikmin retrospective planned to complete with its release. Thanks again, and I'll see you all again in the next video.